Welcome everybody. We're glad to have you here today for how to get hired at Maricopa County. I'm Mary Jo Douglas Zunk, and I work with the School of Public Affairs in the Watts College of Public Service and Community Solutions, and helping students primarily to find good work that they want to do pre and post graduation. We're joined today by Lauren Hebring, who's an HR professional with the school, with Maricopa County. And she's going to tell us today a little bit about herself and introduce you to the idea and the ways that you can apply and stand out in your applications with Maricopa County and get hired there. So Lauren, I'll let you take it away.
All right, well, I'll just start by telling you a little bit about my background with Maricopa County. So I moved here from Oregon in 2019, and I started with Maricopa County in the Human Resources Department in March 2019. I started as a temporary recruitment specialist and then moved into the full-time position. About 3 months later, I promoted to a recruiter. And now recently, as some of you may have heard Mary Jo mention earlier, I've been interim with the communications office, helping with that during the pandemic. So definitely gotten to experience a lot of the benefits of working for the county, the opportunities for growth, and working with other departments and things like that. So I'm excited to tell you more about some tips for applying and what to expect when you're looking at the applications. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, do we see that? Okay. Yes. Okay, so how to apply for a job with Maricopa County. First, let me start off by showing you this new video we have. It kind of goes over some of the benefits of working for the county and why people who work here love it so much. So let me show you this.
So Maricopa County did some research. You know what the research told us? That people really like living here. The wide open spaces, great quality of life, and the growth opportunities. We wholeheartedly, unquestionably agree that Maricopa County is the land of opportunity. We have more than 50 departments and numerous job listings at any given time. We are hiring for all sorts of careers: engineering, nursing, IT, attorneys, detention officers, teachers, trainers, analysts, and more. We are a career smorgasbord, and employees feast on everything from excellent perks like health and pet insurance, on-site fitness centers, and a healthy work-life balance. We've been in business since 1871, so job security is pretty much a given, just like awesome retirement plans. Oh yeah, and if you think government jobs are just stuffy desk assignments with beige cubicles and stale coffee being sipped from styrofoam cups, well, you'd be wrong. People here are diverse, innovative, have fun, and do meaningful work in jobs that make a difference. Remember the research? The quality of life in Maricopa County exists because of the employees who work behind the scenes to make it a great place to live. It's the circle of life. What do you say? Get a job that makes a difference. Maricopa County is hiring. We are a government job that feels anything but government.
So a government job that feels anything but government. That's what we like to say. And it's definitely been my experience, as I said, with my opportunities of growth. I feel like it's been a very flexible work environment with a lot of opportunities and great people to work with. So where do you begin? You can start by going to our website at www.maricopa.gov and scrolling down to the Apply for Jobs section. Or what I usually recommend is you can go directly to our job site by searching jobs.maricopa.gov. When you're searching, you'll see this page come up. You can search by keyword, sort by posting date, job title, and salary. You can also filter by locations if you're looking for a specific area, as well as job departments and job categories. One thing I'd like to say, with so many departments that we have, you don't want to necessarily just look at a specific department, because for human resources, for example, although we have a human resources department, there's also human resources associates in all of our different departments to work closely with the employees in each department. So sometimes searching by keyword or job category will get you more results and give you a better look at what all we have available. When you click on a position that we have open, this is what you'll see here. At the top, you'll see the working title, details about the position like the salary, job type, location, and department. Under the position overview, you get to learn a little bit about the department, what it's like working in there, the type of people that they serve, things like that, as well as then some more details about the job position itself. And sometimes there will be additional information there about the work site or things like that. As you look down a little lower, you'll see our position qualifications. And this is one thing you're going to hear me reiterating a lot, is just that it's very important to make sure you fully understand these qualifications because we stick very closely to them in our recruitment process. So you'll see the education and experience, but one key thing to keep in mind when you're looking at these is how you'll sometimes notice a combo statement there. That's what we call it, the combined education and experience qualifications. So in some cases you'll see this, and that means that, for example, in this position, the minimum education is a high school diploma or GED, and then they are asking for 2 years of experience in an office administrative or clerical setting. But with this combo statement here, it says that post-secondary education can substitute for the experience up to 1 year. Some positions have different combo statements where maybe it would be able to substitute for more than 1 year. Sometimes experience can substitute for education requirements. So pay close attention to those details to see how you can make the most of your experience that you're bringing to the table. You'll also see down there, it's just a snippet there, but the essential job tasks. And that's another important thing you can see to get a better idea of what every day in this position would look like. It's not an all-inclusive list, of course. It's usually about 8 to 12 job duties, but it gives you a good idea of what the most essential functions of the job are that you would be expected to perform. On this page, you can also see there's tabs that show the benefits as well as questions. And you can look at that tab to see what the supplemental questions are going to be that you'll be asked when you're applying for the position. The supplemental questions are directly related to determining if you meet these position qualifications for experience, education, and sometimes other requirements that there may be, like licensure and things like that. So good to take a look at when you're looking through our jobs. Then if you'd like to apply for one, you find one that you like, you'll see that apply button up in the top right corner. And from there, you would click that button, and then you'd need to either sign in, or if this is your first time, you'd need to create an account with us. Also, this website, if you ever just want to take a look at it, there's a lot of additional information there that can help while you're going through the process to get more step-by-step instruction as you're doing it. So some tips for job seekers, sometimes you're applying for a lot of jobs and it can get kind of mixed up in your memory. So we always recommend to consider downloading or taking a screenshot or even printing out the page where it shows the job posting so that you don't lose track of what the qualifications are that you are going to be expected to perform and that we're going to be asking about in the application. So like I said, really important to understand the position and the essential job tasks, the qualifications we're looking for, and any other requirements. When you're looking at that position, the opening, like I said, there's that tab with questions. So it's a good idea to look there and kind of think in advance and get prepared on how you'll be supporting your answers with details to let the recruiters know and be able to tell by looking at your work history that you meet these qualifications. Another good tip is just to make sure that you have a nice professional email. And this seems like something simple, but we've seen some fun emails, and it doesn't make any difference for our step of the recruitment process when the recruiters are just going through and making sure that candidates meet the qualifications for the position. But keep in mind that should you be moved along to the next step, when the hiring manager or internal HR liaisons may be reaching out for an interview, that is the contact information they will be using to reach out to you. So make sure it's a professional looking one, you're checking it regularly, and just it's good to have a separate one as well, so it's easier to keep track of your applications. You'll also, of course, want to update your resume before starting. I'm sure this is something you're aware of as well, but good to just make sure that it's up to date and that it has all of the information that you're putting on your application as well. A few things to keep in mind about our process specifically is that we are a very application-driven organization. And I know some people, have issues with this and say, well, I have a resume, why don't people look at my resume? But in our first part of the process, the reason we do this is so that all of our applicants are starting from the same starting line. We're looking at the same information for each candidate, and no one's getting, benefit because they have a prettier looking resume. So that's just the straightforward way of making sure it's fair for all applicants. So keeping that in mind, that's why we say that when you are filling out the application, you never want to put "see resume," because that's simply not how our recruitment process works. If you go on to the next stage, where recruiters send your application to the hiring managers, they may be looking at your resume, but to get past that first step in the application process, it needs to be fully filled out, don't waive any sections, and provide enough details for the recruiters who may not know things about your workplace that you've been at or positions to be able to tell that you are a qualified candidate. You'll also want to make sure everything is updated and that you're including all the relevant information for the positions that you're currently applying for. One thing that's nice is that after you submit your first application and you've made your account, it will remember the information you've put in, but one position to the other may have different specific job duties and things like that. And you may have both of the skill sets for those positions, but you want to make sure that you're updating your application as you go to different ones so that you're highlighting those differences. You can also add attachments in our application. That could be your resume, cover letter, additional licensures or certificates. Again, just make sure you're paying close attention to the qualifications, because there are some positions that require different things and you want to make sure to include all of the relevant information. For the education section, again, fully complete it. You want to give all the information necessary. Even if you have, say, a master's degree, you want to include the bachelor's and those details as well. Especially, sometimes it may be in a slightly different field, one to the other, and a different degree in a different area or a different specialty may appeal to the hiring manager. So again, just putting in as much information as you can is always going to do better for you and give more information to the hiring manager and to the recruiters to make an informed decision. The last part here is how you can, even if you haven't completed a degree, you can include the number of credit hours that you've completed at the time of the application. So this can also really benefit you when it comes to those combined education and experience combo statements, because say there could be a position where the minimum education would be a GED or a high school diploma, and they're asking for 2 years of experience. But if there's a combo statement allowing education to substitute for experience, even if you haven't completed your bachelor's degree, for example, if you have 60 semester credits or 90 quarter credits, that would be enough to qualify and substitute for those 2 years. So take full advantage of that. And again, just all the more information you can include, it will only benefit you. For the work history section, again, you want to put in all the information necessary because, like I said, this is an application focused organization. And so if things are on your resume, like I said, the hiring manager may look at it, but the recruiters aren't going to. So you need to be thorough and customize your job duties, focusing on the details that are relevant to the job that you're applying for. You'll also include, in addition to just filling it out thoroughly, consider how many entries are appropriate when you're responding to the supplemental questions. So, for example, if a position is asking for 3 years of experience, but on your application you only put in enough work history to qualify for 2 years, even if on the supplemental questions you indicated that you have 3 years, if that doesn't match up with your work history, we won't be able to verify that as recruiters, and so that could get your application removed from consideration. This also goes into the next section with some details that are a part of that work history section. You can include the amount of hours worked per week, dates of employment, and number of employees supervised if applicable. I think the hours per week is the most key one here to understand, because especially with how we calculate experience, say you've worked somewhere for 2 years, but it's been at a basis of 20 hours per week. Even if you have been there for 2 years and our job requires 2 years of experience, because it was 20 hours per week, that only would count as 1 hour of full-time experience. So pay attention to that and keep that in mind as well when you're doing your own mental calculations of how much experience you have and whether or not you fit our qualifications for a specific position. And then of course, your job should be listed from most recent to least recent. Then some other parts of the application you'll see, there's a section for certifications and licenses. So again, if the job posting indicates that a certain license or certification is required, make sure you're entering those details there. Also, sometimes there may be a language requirement or it may be a preferred qualification. So make sure to include that as well. And other information about maybe trainings or specific courses you may have taken that could be applicable to the position, just make sure to include that there as well, any information that is pertinent to what you're applying for. So in our agency-wide questions, those are the next step, and they're required the first time you apply to a Maricopa County position or when the questions are changed. These are more general demographic questions. But in case you've seen them and been concerned, I just want to assure you, these ones, they're ones about like age and gender identity, but those are not visible to anyone in the recruitment process. Recruiters don't see them, the hiring manager doesn't see them. They're simply there to gather data and make sure that we are maintaining diversity in our hiring process. The supplemental questions are the ones that the recruiters and HR associates in the hiring process can see, and they directly correlate with the job experience and qualifications that we're looking for. So again, you want to make sure it's matching up with your experience, make sure it's matching up with what we're looking for. Don't be dishonest, of course, but make sure it's accurate, complete, and supported by what you've filled out on your work history. So of course, you'll want to make sure that you're saving and reviewing all this information along the way. It's going to be going through a lot of hands, so you want to make sure the information is accurate. And then when you come to the end, you'll get a little acknowledgement pop up where you'll check a box to certify and submit that all the information is complete and accurate. And after that, you'll confirm your submission. And once you do that, you receive an email letting you know that we have received your application. So you'll know it's in there. And you can also, when you're signed in, after you've made that account, you can also review all of the positions that you've applied for and see a status of where they're at in our process. So what's next? This part also kind of ties into the fairness for our candidates. We don't begin reviewing or sending applications over to the hiring managers until after the closing date, just so that even someone who applied on the first day or the last day makes no difference, or it doesn't give them an advantage, all going in at the same time. So over the next 3 business days after a position closes, that's when we'll be reviewing all of the applications, removing those who didn't meet the qualifications. And if that does happen, you'll receive a notice letting you know the reason. Then there's a couple of these statuses here that you would see, like I mentioned, on your profile when you're signed in. It may say application in review, or it could say application pending review or pending further review. This happens sometimes when if we receive a large amount of applications for a position where a lot of people are meeting the minimums. Sometimes in those situations, the hiring manager may request to see candidates who meet the preferred qualifications first. So even if that does happen, applications that meet the minimums will still be held onto for review. The preferred qualifications would just be sent over first. So again, make sure you're paying close attention to those qualifications. And if you meet any of those, be sure to include them. So after the review process, candidates are added to an eligible list, and then they would be referred over to the hiring manager for further review. From there, it's out of our hands in the initial recruitment process. It goes over to the departments, and they would be the ones to reach out to you next. So especially in the days following the position closing, you'll want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on your email, because after being referred is when you would expect to receive communication from the department, whether they're asking you in for an interview or a phone interview. So keep an eye out for that. Should everything go well and you have a smooth interview, you would receive a written conditional offer of employment, and then the recruitment would conclude and you'd come back to us and away for onboarding, which our recruitment specialists handle. All right, so I know that was a lot of information. Do you have any questions so far? Let's see.
I have a question.
Sure.
For veterans, do you require a DD 214? And then also, do you accept veterans preference?
There is veterans preference, but I believe it only qualifies for the sheriff's department for their positions.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And do
you
you
would need
require
to-
the DD 214?
Yes, you would need to send that form in for verification in order to get the preference points.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Hey, Lauren, I have a question.
Sure.
So when you're talking about filling in the information and not putting C resume,
Mm-hmm.
obviously you don't want to do that, but is it better to put the same information that you have in your resume or to summarize it?
Summarizing is a little easier, I think, for the recruiter, so it's not, very long, but make sure that it's full enough that we get an idea of what you're talking about. So, maybe bullet points of the duties and some explanation to give more insight, and make sure that it's clear that it ties into the experience we're looking for.
Okay, great, thanks.
Lauren, I don't have any questions written in the chat.
Okay. Well, on this next page, I have some contacts for you, and I'll send this presentation over to you, Mary Jo, so you can share it with any students who couldn't make it and everyone here in case you want to review. And if you have questions, you can always reach out, send an email to me or one of the other recruiters, and we'd be happy to get you some more information.
Thank you, Lauren.
All right, well,
You wanna
last call or?
yeah, stop share there maybe?
Yeah.
I appreciate you being with us today and taking some time out to explain how to put in our best application or our best foot forward with Maricopa County and applications there with regard to that. Would like to make a last call. Anybody, anything in the process as Lauren was describing it that you're unfamiliar with, or anything not covered that you might have run into and want to know if that's a practice with Maricopa County? All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Hope you got some good information, and I look forward to, of course, our continued relationship with Maricopa County and the School of Public Affairs and ASU. I think one thing you should know is, although Lauren isn't a graduate of ASU, there are a number of alums who work for the county and have worked for the county and are very much interested in recruiting other alums to work alongside them as well. So thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Carrie. Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you. Nice to see you.